Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everyone in between and all over the world, we have a titanic international clash here at the World Masters Ultimate Club Championships. I am Lorcan Murray, and it is my pleasure to be joined by the one, the only, Gigi Morrison. How are you feeling, Gigi?
I'm feeling very excited. I got off the plane a couple hours ago, landed in sunny, sunny Limerick. It's not been sideways rain yet, but very excited to get into this first game. We've got Iznogood versus Puyal. Iznogood are a team that we've seen before, very, very, very well established across Europe. But Puyal making their first appearance at a Masters Championship and seems to be representing the entirety of India. So I'm very excited to see this match.
Initially based out of Chennai, Puyal meaning storm in Tamil, so they are bringing their storm to match our own. As you can see, Iznogood have got a little bit stormy themselves. We're going to give a huge shout out to everybody watching, those people in France coming out of Noisy-le-Sec, and of course everybody in Indian Ultimate. It is a delight to have you here. This is the first international tournament that Puyal India have ever played in. So glad that they chose Limerick to make their debut. So starting off, we will have Iznogood coming on offense. And can you tell me a little bit about perhaps the difference in experience on these two sides, Gigi?
So as I had mentioned, Iznogood has been a very well-established club. They've established themselves in 1986. This is, however, their first Masters Championship as a club team. So lots of these players have been playing together for decades. So they will have that chemistry and that connection, whereas Puyal as a club have only been together for 5 years. A lot of those players only starting within the previous 3 to 5 years, so still very relatively new players, but giving a fresh new face to Ultimate as we kick off this game.
And we are going to start with Izno on offense and picked up by Müller. Centers it into the middle, and let's see how they get on. Nguyen looking, goes for the open side pass in the end. They're trying to wind one up for the big shot, but they decided against it. At the end, Holsters goes for the under instead. And there comes the big shot, arcing it down, but the wind is going to push that one into the ground out of Rescan's hands.
The wind definitely being an extra participant on the pitch today. It has been a consistent 20-mile-an-hour wind with gusts of up to 27 miles an hour, so it's very difficult to navigate around in these conditions.
And that's something Puyal India, they're familiar with the wind, if not the rain. So we'll see how they adapt. An unfortunate turn. It was a nice cut to get out of that initial coffin corner as here comes Izno. Another bite at the offensive hold to open up this matchup. That's Céad. Céad looking for options. Stall count would have been getting high if he had a force on. There's a nice swing around and an opening score. That's coming out of the hands of Vincent Marcon and into the waiting grasp of Matteo Müller.
Already some of the chemistry and experience that we're seeing from Iznogood. Matteo Müller catching the score, giving Izno their first point. Wonderful end zone offense, making sure that the handler resets are moving and buzzing off instantly, getting a cut to the front cone. Nice and easy score.
That's the experience, that's the familiarity, the fraternité that the Iznogood team are so adept at. They've been playing together, like you said, since 86. 86. I always enjoy the way the French count past the number 60. It's a lot of fun, makes you do maths as well as language. As they have shown that they have the offensive power, although that initial shot, maybe just a little bit of opening point jitters, they're in a very, very tough group. They're having to go up against the likes of Carbon, who come across the Atlantic, as well as Voltron, who are basically just a Masters Chevy side. So tough matchups all around as these teams looking to score a very important victory early in this tournament. Big arcing blade, but comfortably taken, as here come Puyal. First proper look, and that's Deepak. He's looking around, he's got options, but they are under a lot of pressure. And there comes the huge shot going all the way down the field. We've got a bit of a battle, folks. It's hanging, falling, up, down. Brilliant defense, really well measured, really well defended. And Izno almost immediately turning it over themselves, so quick we couldn't even tell. So here come Puyal, another chance, picking up the disc and ready to go. That's Deepak, he's going to be one of the main handlers. Gets it to Kumaran. He's calling for cuts. It goes unanswered initially. Stall count's getting ever higher. And apart from the pick, that was a... Okay, so a little insight into the athletic capabilities of this Puyal side.
This could be an interesting discussion after a pick call. So that is where a defender has been blocked in their path to get to their mark. The receiver has to continue and try to catch it. Nobody's actually contesting anything as we see a quick replay of that athletic bid to get that disc.
That's Abhinav Vinayaka, as there goes the disc into the ground, unfortunately, but quite a grab by Abhinav. Doesn't go anywhere for them, as here come Izno, looking to shoot right back down. Bradad sends it down the line. Waiting for him there was Mbe. Mbe goes with a big arcing pass, looking to test this Puyal defense. And they pass with flying colors. So once again, we have BK stepping up to it. That is Kim, affectionately known as Bangkok Kim. Part Swedish, part Thai, all danger. As here comes Deepak again. You've got to keep your eye on this man for these kinds of throws. That one's always arcing towards the sideline. And he's going to have to get used to this gusty, blustery Irish wind.
Yeah, a couple of throws now drifting a little too far out to the left. You see again that lovely defensive bid. Almost having to say catch your Ds. The Izno players are hot on the heels of the Puyal players.
They are going to swarm at every opportunity. That experience, decades in the making. As there comes the beautiful inside shot to Maurice. Maurice looking for the pop, gets it off and comfortably taken in by Florian. It's Florian Tessier. Tessier swings it around, and there just seems to be a bit more structure, perhaps a bit more confidence to this Izno side than from their Indian counterparts. Leonard launches one. It's going to be tough to keep inbounds, but it is done with aplomb by Bradad. Bradad centers it back into the middle. The waiting hands of Launo. Launo keeps the swing going along to Mbe. Back to Launo. Launo is a veteran. A veteran's veteran, as you would say, making the right decision, making the right cut, as Izno swing it all the way to the other side. And that is just some quick popping and swinging. It goes from Gello to Amado for the score.
Wonderful feet from Bradal. Number 13 on the Iznogood side. You saw there 2 catches there, managing to keep 1 foot in bounds, getting Izno their second score of the game. Just get to see that lovely toe in there, making sure. It's often quite difficult to get those because you're wanting to think about ensuring that you get the catch, but also making sure that your feet are in bounds. And I know from a couple of years of playing now, I've definitely gone prioritizing the disc rather than my feet and catching it, but I've already leapt a couple of meters away from the sideline. So very impressive footwork there
from Bradad. It takes a lot of mental awareness, but also I think a lot of confidence, because you don't want to get yourself flustered. You want to make sure you can secure the catch and toe the line. And so frequently we see people move on to the next thing after securing the catch and immediately bobbling it. So showing their experience and their skills. So a quick storm into a 2-0 lead for the noisy Le Sac contingent. And here comes, going all the way down, that's Kim. Gets it to Karthik. Karthik back to Kim. You see a little bit of poaching, but this is a match defense with a bit of poaching and switching downfield being done by Izno, hoping to capitalize perhaps on the inexperience of the Chennai side and take advantage of their discomfort. As we see Karthik back to Kim. Kim under lots of pressure. Doesn't like the initial throw, fakes the scuba. You like to see that. Karthik very much a steady handler presence, someone who's going to be looking to relieve the pressure, as Kim their main offensive weapon. Is there particular cuts you'd like to maybe see them implement more downfield? Because it's a lot of just handler switching right now by Puyal.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. With their history as beach players, they're used to having to have their handlers dart in and out of cuts, just because of the fact that whenever you're playing beach, it's a much smaller pitch, so you're having to make these short ball movements a lot more often, particularly in very windy conditions. So they should be actually in their strong suit here.
And then they open up with a strong flick to the end zone, but Kim putting a bit too much sauce on that one. and no one really near to collect it, as that one goes for 4. It's a little cricket reference for the Indian fans who are watching. And again, we are so delighted to have you join us as we just get another look. Now, this is the kind of stuff you're talking about, the quick popping that we see and so familiar with when it comes to beach, and that will work against zones very effectively if you're prepared to put the extra spin on it dealing with this wind. So again, to anybody watching, please do reach out to us through the social medias. You can reach us through the WMUCC official media, as well as WFDF and ulti.tv. We'd love to hear some shout-outs, some comments on the YouTube stream from any of the fans watching. Who are you cheering for? What are you looking for? Who do you think you are? As here comes Platt. Launches it well over the top and into the waiting hands of Maurice, and that's how you play against a zone when you've got a lot of experience and a lot of confidence in your throws. That one just about stayed up. Tessier rescues it, sends it right back to Afil. Afil back to Tessier, and up rushing. I've spoken a lot so far this tournament about how much I love that. And again, that one just goes a little bit errant, but huge play by Céad here to be in the right position. He's got it, he wants Deepak, decides against it, settles for Kim. So now Kim looking around, surveying his options. Deepak is trying to get free in the short space, and does. That's a tasty grab. Looked like it was going to slip away from him at the last second. Deepak continues to look. He's got Kim. He's got him for the push. And this is just that quick fire beach ultimate influence. And it's working here on the grassy fields of Ireland. And there's their opening score. And it's a bookends from Céad here.
Puyal clearly very excited for their first point on the stream. If you wanted to watch that point back, you can actually see exactly what their structure is like. They really love their handler short ball. They want to make sure that they can get some very quick dicey passes that as soon as somebody receives the disc, they will instantly look for a dump. We see again that quick disc into the front of the end zone. Céad receiving for Puyal's first score of the streamed game.
Fair.
So for anyone wondering at home, we had a quick chat with some of the Puyal players before the game, just asking them, what's your team about? What does Puyal actually mean? It means storm in Tamil. Tamil, one of the many languages across the Indian subcontinent. And their kit is really interesting. It's actually a storm map indicating a storm coming in from the Bay of Bengal towards Chennai, where the team is based.
As we see Müller and Nguyen swapping the disc back and forth between them, looking to dislodge this defensive effort and weather this storm, getting it down the line. And this is some fantastic quick fire play. That's Zubir getting involved alongside Tessier. And that's Nguyen, Tessier. You can expect Nguyen, Tessier, Zubir to be playing the disc around themselves a lot. They've got so much experience between them. Müller, of course, getting in there as well. Nguyen, and he's looking, he's calling for the pop. Don't make me just lose yards passing it to you. At least move this defense, attack it. And Müller is happy to oblige. So now you see Nguyen really running the show. Zubir working with him. But it seems like every second pass, for the most part, is Nguyen. They get it across all the way to the opposite sideline. That's Kalmel. Kalmel bounces it back to the waiting hands of Marcon. Marcon to Tessier. Tessier, he has Nguyen, he hits him. Or Müller, sorry, to Nguyen. And now Zubir. Zubir back to Nguyen. He has Tessier and Zubir to his right. Instead, he goes to his left to Müller again. And Nguyen running the show right now for Izno, just staying in those dangerous positions. Zubir back to Marcon. Marcon back to Nguyen. Nguyen all the way back to Zubir, and the shot all the way around for the comfortable score as it ends up waiting in the hands of Bruno Kalmel.
Müller and Nguyen really showing how to dominate through a zone. They worked it so well together. Obviously, a lot of the other players on Izno getting involved, but they were two of the linchpins, making sure that there was consistent and constant flow throughout the zone. Puyal doing really well, trying to put on their own zone, very similar to FSU Arrowhead style, where it's a little bit poachy towards the top handler sets, more match marky downfield where all the cutters were, but Izno taking no issue with that whatsoever, making the score now 3-1 to Iznogood.
And it almost seems typical. Nguyen does everything, but in the end, the stat sheet is going to show Zubir to Kalmel and or Etienne. Sorry for getting those names right, or wrong, getting them mixed up. They're both down as 31. But the point is, the two people running the show completely are not the two to finish it, and that just speaks to how they're running this offense against the zone. Really aggressive swinging, as opposed to the kind of passive swinging you see so many people fall into the habit of. So can Puyal respond? The wind is howling, and it is bringing with it a couple of specks of rain as Deepak, so frequently a focal point, working with Kim, sending it out and around. That's Ambrish. And they're coming up directly against a wall, and this is where an aggressive swing is necessary. You can't be stationary, especially against an arrow-style zone like this that gives you the opportunity to work it down the field. Sorry, that's Kumaran working with Kim and Deepak. So it's Kumaran on the far side of the pitch from us. Thinks about another big shot. Wouldn't mind seeing it, but I don't know where it would end up with this wind. This is better by Kim and Kumaran, who are just taking those little yards every chance they give them. And they're staying on the high side as well. The wind is blowing laterally across the pitch towards our camera. So that's why Kim is largely ignoring Deepak. As talented a thrower as he is, they want to keep pushing it into the wind and keeping that nice and secure for them. And there we go again. And now Izno are forced to switch to the match defense because they didn't like how they were losing a yard on almost every swing. Kartik comes back under, gets it to Kim. Kim has a think about it, decides to look Sudhir off. Understandable, that man is dangerous in the end zone, but in unfamiliar territory like this, really nice fake by Kumaran. And Kartik with the scathing inside scoop. Kumaran collects it. This is really impressive stuff. You have to understand how the elements are not settling. It is constantly changing, and Puyal are just reacting to each change as there comes another big flick to the end zone for the score. What a shot by Kim, and by no means an easy catch all the way on the other end of the pitch. Who else but that man, Sudhir?
Absolute elation. You could see all the Puyal players storm the pitch. There wasn't a whole lot of movement throughout that point. As you mentioned, they're not really taking on very many aggressive options, particularly whenever they're faced up against an Arrowhead or an FSU style zone. It's interesting to see how much trust that they have in their throwers, that the cutters themselves are confident to stay completely stationary, and they know that the thrower is going to be like, right, I'm going to throw it to you, you do not have to move, I'm going to get it right there, despite 25-mile-an-hour gusts. And I think that shows absolute credit to the work ethic that these players have put into making sure that their throws are really strong and consistent.
And like you said, the faith they have in each other really stands with. They did not get panicked, they did not get rushed. The wind at no point was settled. It's one thing if it's windy, and it's always windy, but that was just as blustery as it can get, inconsistent. They were the opposite, consistent as they needed to be. And I think a little bit Izno were kind of daring the deep shot, almost like, you know what, try it. To which Kim was like, fine. If you don't want to respect Sudhir, trust me, the rest of us very much do. And he gets the scores. Here come Izno. 3-2, so a nice, tight, close affair as Müller with the disc. He's working on the far sideline. Here, back to Etienne in the middle. And Müller. That's Nguyen, back to Müller. Along to Etienne. Etienne says no to the up, and that's why you have the uprushing handler. Clears out the defense, gives the easy swing back around to Nguyen. And they're going to keep swapping it around. That's Nguyen again to Etienne. Etienne. Beautiful flick straight through the middle in the waiting hands of Kalmel, and now Izno are off to the races. Rescan sends it out to the opposite side. Tessier thinks about launching it, but decides against it. Gets back into the middle of Nguyen. Tessier runs to the corner. It's a little bit cramped, but they find the space in the middle of the pitch, and that ends up in the hands of Bruno Kalmel.
Completely different styles of play on different points. Izno definitely being a little bit more aggressive compared to Puyal from the previous point. Izno wanting to make sure that these swing cuts were coming, that they had options at all times to be able to get to their receiver. As we're taking a bit of a timeout now, we'll just watch some of the replays here. Again, these conditions are not easy to throw in. It's very difficult to be able to judge where the disc is going to land into your chest or whether it's just going to dip and dive away from you.
And as the two teams take their first time out of the game, 4-2 to Izno, but very much a competitive matchup, we're just going to send a quick message from our sponsors.
The ultimate things in life are free, and we're keeping it that way. Subscribe to keep up with the latest games, tournaments, and community content. Share it with your team and friends, and drop a like to help spread Ultimate to more people. Spread the word, spread the love. Ultimate.tv.
And welcome back to the show. It is a pleasure to bring you here in these lovely conditions as we are battling the elements, as these two teams battle each other. It is all to play for, 4-2 to Iznogood. And I've certainly been impressed with the performance by Puyal so far. What about yourself?
I'm definitely impressed. I was expecting an extremely good matchup. Just watching both of the teams warm up on the sideline, you could see how clinical they are with their throws, making sure that that is the focal point of the warm-up itself. Can guarantee that both teams are going to be extremely athletic, but whenever you're faced against conditions like this, you want to make sure that every single disc is going to get as close to the chest as possible. So we see a brick pull come into play.
And Deepak picking up, Kartik makes the initial undercut. They look around for options, and almost made its way to Kumaran, but really smart heads-up defense by Mel Maurice to shut that option off. So here come Izno looking to get another break. Guillaume Pla down the line, comfortable, smooth, in control. Menendez goes for a shot down the line. This is taken in well. And this is great stuff by Izno, and we've seen them just swing it around, not force anything. There's the open shot to the end zone, and that is quite the catch. Really impressive stuff by Izno. And that swing attack continues to work. In the end, Redard to Menendez.
Izno really wanting to suffocate the Puyal team, make sure that they do not get the opportunity to score that hold there. Izno scoring a break.
So very impressive stuff from Izno. They only needed one shot, one opportunity to capture the break and not let it slip. And there, just swing, 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 shot, and score. Really nice catch as well. Jean-Baptiste Menendez making that one look a little bit easier than I imagine it was in these conditions.
Yeah, you definitely have to concentrate for an extra second or two to make sure that you're actually going to receive the disc properly, whether it's the wind or the rain itself or the fact that you have to dive for a disc. You're just having to make sure that it is in your hands, that you hold onto it, that it doesn't just bobble out your fingers. It can be quite tricky.
This sport is by no means easy, but this French team is by no means bad, despite their name. As that one's going to go out for a sideline, and we'll see if Puyal decide to take it. They're going to take it right on the sideline. Very brave. And you see the way they're trying to isolate a cutter in the middle of the pitch, and they're just setting him up for a one-on-one. Clear the space. That is beautifully worked by Puyal. And there's the uprushing handler. He's going to look to send it. That was a magnificent flowing piece of offense. Really impressive stuff by Puyal. Very well done. Manakam, he pops it back. That's Vardan. Vardan still kind of getting a little bit high. And you can see Izno just poaching into that front corner as they're having a little conversation. It's going to be a violation. He's going to come back. Vardan engaging in a discussion with Couville.
I'm not entirely sure what the call is. It may have been contact, judging by the lack of hand signals.
So we're back in. Vardan, he's looking for options. He gets one, and Couville was there and wise. Uncontested foul. That's immediately going to go back. Still count back at 0, so Vardan gets a fresh 10 to try and punch it in this front corner. This is what I was a little bit afraid of when it comes to these slightly less experienced teams. They might just get end zone eyes. But nope, they instead resort to going back for the reset. Céad here gets it across and back into his hands. Says no to the shot. And another pick. So Céad here really all over the pitch. You'll remember he caught that blade earlier on from Kim. Now showing off his ability in the handler set. Flanked by Vardan. I wouldn't mind them cleaning up this stack a little bit and creating a more of an obvious space on the open side. Izno doing everything they can to pollute the green spaces on the pitch with red bodies.
Seeing two different hand signals, seeing a violation hand signal and an injury hand signal, so not entirely sure what's happening.
Seems to have been a violation as Céad here looks for Vardan. That's a nice cut by Vardan. He doesn't like it. He's going to have to force that one. And it just goes into the turf. It's going to be another call, but nope, that's the turnover. Thank you very much for using the hand signals, Frederick Bredad.
So anyone who is relatively new to Ultimate, this is self-refereed sport, so the players themselves have to decide the calls, whether there is a foul, whether there is any sort of marking infraction. We have hand signals to be able to communicate with each other to ensure that we know what is going on. It also helps us know what's going on.
As Lennart gets that one out of here, but he is in some trouble in that corner. And a rare miscommunication with Lorino as Vardan picks it up immediately, perhaps rushing it slightly too much. I don't know about you, but from how he's holding that, I wouldn't bother guarding his flick side.
Definitely seems to be a strong suit. Another contact or disc space call.
Vardan looking for the quick pop. Bobbled. There's going to be a call. I don't know if you're able to pick that up on our mics, but the sideline yelling at Clément Gelot. Don't be wasting those valuable knee cartilage. That deep cut isn't going to count. So another discussion. And you can tell how intense it gets right in these close spaces because, like we've noticed, that give-go style that they like to play from the beach, Izno seems to have cottoned onto it pretty quickly and are just trying to gum up that space as much as they possibly can with French bodies.
Uncontested foul call.
That's from Mbaye. Mbaye, renowned for his spirit. As we're just going to have another quick look at it. And you can see just how cramped that space is. I'd have to agree. I think that is a foul as they're trying to get it off. He's trying to find somebody, anybody. He's forced to put it up. That might just count as a great. That was inadvertently the swing that they desperately needed, and it winds up in the hands of Ambrish. That is not an easy catch, and he makes it.
A little bit of a Hail Mary towards the end there. We had, what, 4 or 5 calls of various different forms. We had picks, we had fouls, we had disc space. You can kind of make your own little bingo card of whatever calls were going on, but Puyal getting a very blady backhand into the end zone, called in to give them another point.
So that was Ambrish with the score and Paul Pradeep with the assist. I don't like the fact that it was desperation that made them go for the throw that they desperately needed to go for. Somebody had to take a step out and try and break the mark with a flick around, because the way Izno are playing that defense, they have nothing but space on the opposite end of the pitch.
Yeah, as much as they are very good, as much as Puyal are very good with their short ball handler movements, it does seem to fall a little bit flat when they get to the end zone. They're wanting to use what I call a Benjiism, jam it in the jam hole, of trying to throw the disc.
Did he come up with that? Because I've heard so many people say that since, and I was just thinking, I've only ever heard Benji say that up until I was like 25. I've only ever heard Benji say it too,
so I'm using it as a Benjiism.
I believe he invented that, and it has since made its way around the community. Big shout out to Benji. They're over at London Invite, in case anybody is also watching that stream or interested in watching some of the elite club teams in Europe under 30. Battle it out in preparation for going to WMUCC. Of course, we'd rather you stay here, but as long as you're watching Ultimate, I mean, you're having a good Sunday, right? We will be here free all week, and of course all of our content for free on the ulti.tv YouTube page from previous tournaments, and this one up for free on the WFDF tournaments, the first of the trifecta of major tournaments happening this year, as Izno, who will also be making an appearance at WUC the end of this month, look to go back down and play against this Puyal zone. So Nguyen, who has just been so crucial to everything they've been doing, Nguyen and Müller running that show. They have Tessier, hits him with the beautiful scuba, and then a soft little dish along to Calmel. Calmel, who has been finishing off a lot of these zone offensive points. And that's nicely done. It's back to Nguyen in the middle, and they continue to spread it around. To the opposite side, Nguyen again doesn't want Tessier, instead finds Calmel. Calmel looks to send it to the far corner, and they are starting to make that look smooth as butter. Rescam with the score.
Faced again with another zone. Iznogood doing really well to slice through it. You were saying Calmel, pretty much every other pass also going in with the assist. One thing that we can see on our handy dandy little score sheet, thank you to all the players who have actually filled in their information for us, but Calmel put that his hero, his sporting hero, is Nasa Mbai, who is another Iznogood player, which I think is adorable.
That is delightful. I think Mbai is something of a sporting hero to a lot of people across the continent. I know that I've always been very inspired by not just the way he plays the game, but the way he carries himself and carries the game as well. He's represented us all around the world, represented us, I mean, as Europeans, all around the world, and has been such a titan of the sport for so long. So it's always great to give a shout out. And big thing about Masters I really think is important is that we give the flowers to all these players. A lot of cases, these are the players who helped establish the sport in this continent when it comes to some of the European teams, and something that we're seeing a lot with the Indian teams, as I would describe them, a rising power in the East. You talk to anybody who comes from out there, you talk to some of our Australian crew members, and they're saying, you've got to watch out for India, man. They're just going from strength to strength to strength. And a lot of that is thanks to players like Deepak, who commit so much to their communities. Deepak gets into the middle to Kartik. Kartik spreads it back around to Deepak, and this is that quick fire offense that they like to run. And there's the huge shot. That one's going to sit in the middle. We've got bodies underneath. Who's going to get the disc? It's up. It's down. And in the end, I think that was a swarm of Izno players, but I would personally give credit to Anthony Affile. What do you think of those shots from Puyal?
I'm really enjoying them. I love the fact that they are not afraid to throw it deep. They're not intimidated by the wind. They're not intimidated by Iznogood as players. They trust the receivers, and even if the throw doesn't necessarily come off or is not received, it's still what would be considered probably the most correct option.
I agree. You're not turning down good looks because you're afraid, and that is crucial, because you can't be afraid. Come all this way, you just got to put it all out there. And that is a beautiful leading pass. Talk about putting it out there. Comfortably ran onto by Amado, spreading it wide to Maurice, as Izno are looking to score another break with this D-line effort. Menendez gets it back into the middle. Maurice further along to Amado again. Amado, he's looking, isn't dedicated to the end zone though, and that is experience. So they know they can just keep reloading it, and eventually it'll get there. Plas throwing it to Menendez for the score.
One thing I just noticed from that little bit of offense that we saw towards the end zone, it's an offensive style that I don't think, at least I've not seen very often, or I don't see very often from teams, where Izno have isolated 2 to 3 players in the end zone, not necessarily in a vertical stack, but they're just giving them plenty of space to cut in the end zone. It's very indoor style, where you're having to isolate a few amount of players to make sure that they have plenty of space to cut into. Very different to what a lot of other teams play, and it's clearly working in their favor. They're able to drill their cuts well, and it's given them another score, bring them closer to half.
I think there's 2 schools of thought on isolations in the end zone. Do you put the rest of your players at the back of the end zone, or do you put them behind the handlers? I very much believe you put them behind the handlers. If you've ever played defense, it is incredibly difficult to play 3v3 in an end zone and actually cover people all the time. Nearly impossible. And then if they wind up sinking somebody back so that they can have a numbers advantage, then you have a completely free dump, which means you should never turn it over, because you just look until it's a sure thing, and if that never shows up, take the immediately free dump. So I quite like it. I like it. I also really like indoors, and I love being that person who goes from standing in the end zone doing nothing to, once it passes halfway, standing behind the handlers and doing nothing, and then taking all the glory.
So what I'm hearing here is you like standing doing nothing.
I like
but
glory.
Getting all the credit.
I like glory without effort, and I would have thought that would come across through my broadcasting career. As now we see Iznogood 7-3, and I think there's really experience shining through because their cuts seem cleaner, but I have to say Puyal in no way look phased to me. They look like they're out there, they are playing their game to the best of their ability, and that is the entire point of being here, testing yourself against such established powers like Izno.
Yeah, again, when we spoke to them before the game, we asked them how their previous games had gone. Their response to it was actually very chilled. They said, we lost both games, but we're in a tough situation and we're having a great time. We're here for the first time ever. We're representing our country, and it seems to be more of an honor to be here than looking at results. Results would be a benefit, but just being here itself is the best part.
Being here and playing their game. They're not just happy with taking part, they want to compete, and that's exactly what we're seeing out of them as they continue to battle hard against this Izno zone. And there so far, Céad here goes for the huge shot. It's not going to stay in bounds. As again, I thought maybe they'd managed to correct this based off the last huck, but a lot of those shots just drifting over this near sideline as they try to get used to the wind.
So they're maybe looking down the rest of the pitch, seeing how many yards they would have to gain and thinking, you know what, I want to take that shot.
If they could get them to stay in bounds, I mean, Vardan got a good 10 yards on his man, so definitely a legitimate opportunity. Oh, Céad almost stealing through, but it takes a lot to rattle Lorino. Back across. And here come Izno with just that patient, aggressive swinging. So difficult to stop, so difficult to slow down. And as long as they can hold on to the disc, you imagine they'll be carrying themselves into half with this possession. Amado. He's working well with Tessier. Tessier. Back to Amado. Amado tries to get it, and that's a beautiful cut by Lorino. And there's another backhand break. Tessier showing off, I think, for the fans back in France. Collects it through just away from the invasive hands of Vardan, and now there's the opportunity for the big sweeping cross-field. Phenomenal grab. Amazing stuff by Clément Gelot.
We saw there, again, the number 13 shirt of Redar dominating this game so far. Some impressive toe-ins and then a dicing backhand around shot. Wanted to give a shout out to some family back home. Ludovine plus baby, congratulations.
En petit baby. Huge shout out. We did make a deal with him, which was you have to do something cool and then we'll give a shout out.
And he's
that
done
was a
plenty of
brilliant
cool
grab by Tessier just there. Vardan, I thought, was stealing in to get that. And there's just the vision. Big sweeping shot. Big shout out to Rakesh, who closed that gap and put an awful lot of pressure onto Gelot, but Gelot was wise to it. So that is halftime, 8-3 to Izno, but a very competitive matchup so far and plenty more to see in the second half. So keep it here with ulti.tv. We will be back after this message from our sponsors.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, Ultimate TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
our
work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
Catch it early. Help us teach kids about cancer symptoms through Ultimate Frisbee clinics. Join us and speak up.
He's in a great spot. He's in a perfect spot. Yes, his massive head has blocked everything. That was a huge play, but we have seen none of it. Finny, he's done it. Lift the handle up. Lift the handle up. Lock the middle one. Tighten that. Then the handbrake.
13, 37. Yeah. But kilo is 37.
Last time, I was just jacked up. I did that too. I do like that.
Red is blocked. I'll need to remember. Red just seems like it would be turned. Anyway, red is blocked, yellow is
Just get out. So what's happening is you're just rolling replays forever. You have to put play all, or it will just play the top replay. So just get out. Just got to get out. Play all. So if you transition to it, it doesn't go through, and you just play what's there forever. So you just play the whole game.
Welcome back to the action here at Limerick, Europe's premier sporting campus, the University of Limerick. We are in the bowl and in the zone, as is no good. are showing their style, their experience, and their panache for this game, going up against a very hungry, a very impressive, and no way daunted Puyal India side, bringing a bit of storm of their own up here to the Northern Hemisphere and these Emerald Shores. I am joined by Gigi Morrison, and what are you looking forward to seeing in this second half, Gigi?
I am hoping that Puyal are going to firstly continue playing to their strengths of handler, dishy, short ball movements, but also throwing in a little bit more of that long ball, making some bigger cuts, trying to be a bit more expansive with their play. Really make sure that Iznogood are having to work hard on defense.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Karthik goes for the flick into the wind, and that's what we need to see more of. I worry they're almost a little too afraid to go for those flicks sometimes and really push themselves. There's another lovely leading pass, comfortably taken in by Ambarish. Ambarish looks to launch it to the end zone and overshoots his intended receiver.
Ambarish maybe seeing the cut that he wanted, but not necessarily getting that off.
So Izno looking to strike back quickly and continue this march. That's Maurice. Maurice with the disc, spreads it around, taken in well. That wasn't by no means an easy catch for Kuvil. And a drop in the middle of the pitch. So Puyal will get another bite at the apple. Let's see how they do, Kim. Doesn't like it, spreads it back around. Paul. Back into the middle. Still searching, still trying to find their answers. Karthik just muscling his way free on the under. Karthik launches one. It's looking to arc all the way around, but it doesn't come back. But that's the kind of expansiveness you were talking about, Gigi?
100%. That's exactly the kind of thing that we're looking for. Absolutely the right option, just very difficult to actually get the disc off correctly. Again, the conditions being an extra player on the pitch here, but definitely the right option.
So Izno, Puyal putting on that zone, hoping to trap them down here and get the offensive hold. Izno quick to spread it to the opposite sideline. Menendez thinks about the flick hook, decides against it. Back long as Tessier and Menendez working well together. Getting Afil involved a little bit as well. Afil again. Pops it back and into the waiting hands of Blas. And all the way across to Tessier. Oh, that one just about sneaks through. And then maybe trying to rush it a bit too much. It sneaks over the head of the intended receiver. So here comes Puyal in the opposite direction. Anamalai. Maybe a couple of jitters after the halftime break. Throws look a little bit looser. And there's immediately a deep shot that somehow stays there. Almost cuts Karthik's head off. And he doesn't even get the block for it. Just knocks it into Afil's hands.
We've got an injury hand signal here. We just get to watch that back.
He ate a lot of that disc. So an understandable injury call for Karthik. And then Izno just rushing down the pitch immediately. There is no slowing them down when they're in this kind of a mood. Mado back to Tessier. Tessier looks for the quick break. Huge bid! But what a defensive play! Incredible stuff from Puyal. And they will not go lying down unless it comes at the end of a massive layout, it seems. So the huge play by Abhinav. And Izno trying to respond in kind, but Puyal unbowed. Spreads it out, that's Balaji. Lovely little dump cup, Ambarish, and a quick swing, that's better. Oh, sorry, Abhinav to Ambarish, now back to Abhinav. Abhinav with the disc, but just no movement downfield. And they're trying to set up these single run cuts, which just won't work. Now they're getting a little bit sneaky.
Getting a little too close in terms of contact there. There was a lot of touching going on for no contact sports. We're getting another injury call. We just get to watch that back.
Incredibly athletic attempt, but unfortunately backpacking the player pretty significantly.
That being an uncontested foul, that means that the offensive receiver gets to maintain possession of the disc, as Puyal are going to check it in again on the sideline with the stall count coming in, stalling 1.
So Deepak will have plenty of time, and he's on the high side of the pitch, which means the side the wind is coming from. It's blowing towards our cameras. Makes it a little bit easier for him to hang up a huck. As he goes for a laser all the way down, it gets tipped just enough by Anthony Afil. So several blocks on his repertoire today. Céad. Puyal quick to try and set up a cup and trap him there, but Céad fakes the deep, sends that into the middle, and now they might just be off to the races with this quick pop and go game they love so much. Plas and Céad. It's Plas back into the middle in the waiting hands of Amado. Amado with the cheeky lefty backhand. Again, Izno are so adept at this patient swinging offense. I think maybe they just want to cool their jets a little after this turnover-rich opening point of half-time. They're just going to take their time. Plas. Disc. Sends it down the line. Amado. Amado. Searching. Finds Maurice. Maurice. Thinks about it himself. Decides against it. Gets it to Céad. Keeps running. Wants those extra yards. It's the right choice, as is any kind of shot to Amado in that kind of space. 9-3.
A lot of trust from the Iznogood side. They're generating cuts and trying to utilize the entire width of the pitch, slicing through any sort of cup that Puyal had set up. We see a really wonderful dish off here, handler strike across, and a cut towards the front cone for a nice, easy score.
It's just that smooth, almost professional offense that we've seen from Izno. They keep swinging, they stay relaxed. I love this move right here. That was fantastic stuff by Male. Maurice sees the open swing, isn't content to just lose a yard or two moving the disc and resetting the clock. Immediately takes off himself because he recognizes if he doesn't have a force, that means I can just run directly in front of him, get a couple of yards back, have another quick survey of what's happening downfield. And what was happening downfield was a wide open Amado cutting to the sideline. So that's again the experience of Izno, just helping them pull off, because it's kind of a similar playing style to the two of them in as much as that capacity. When Izno are playing that quick aggressive swing, it is quite similar to what Puyal were doing very effectively at the start of this game. I think Izno have just relied on their experience more and have been able to respond defensively in a way that Puyal haven't quite solved. So let's see how they do now. Kumaran. That's a nice shot back into the middle of Kumaran. Against this zone as Izno are trying to face mark some of the downfield cutters as they make their way into the action center. Vivek searching, finding Vardan. Just about able to get that off to Sudhir. Sudhir looking around, doesn't have much in the way of options, and they're losing a lot of yards. Just getting forced further back. Now that's a nice break, and I just wish they'd follow it by just running a little bit quicker afterwards. That's better. Kumaran and Sudhir working well together with the uprushing move. And Kumaran thinks about the flick, decides against it, gives it to Sudhir. And Laurent trying to jump through, but gives us a little bit of a nothing quite there.
Another foul call. We're just watching that one back. We're seeing a little bit more movement from Puyal against this zone look. Definitely the tactic that I am wanting to see from them, especially with Izno coming out with a little bit more of a cup structure. Definitely benefits being able to break into it, so getting cutters, whether that is from the handler space or from the downfield space, breaking into that cup, trying to move players out of the way so you've got enough space to either dish it off to somebody breaking into the cup or to give a nice swing, breakthrough option through the cup, and gain some more yards.
Back to Sudhir. And hopefully they can keep that style of play going. That's a lovely little touch into Vivek in the middle, and now they're starting to really flow down the pitch. Sudhir back to Vardan, and Izno, you can probably hear that coming through our microphones, the call to switch back to match defense. Sudhir again. And This is the aggressive, assured play style we saw early in the game. We welcome it back. So much pressure, and there's the call for the stall out.
Some discussion going on here, a little bit of reenactment from the mark.
I think Céad here felt like there was unfair contact initiated by the defender. I've always felt by the letter of the law, it's pretty hard not to foul people on the force, especially if they move a lot.
Just getting some of the game advisors in here. So the game advisors are able to give the rules. They are not allowed to give their opinions because they are not they're not referees. So the players can utilize the rules for their perspective.
Céad here gets that just about down the line to Kumaran. There's another call downfield, and you can see by the ever increasing number of pick calls just how tight the offense Puyal are playing. How compact. Might see a bit more of that stretching you were talking about earlier on, rather than just sticking somebody deep. Kumaran, Stolkan's got to be getting high. He's forced to try and send it into the middle to Vivek, but it was always dropping. Laurent, a beautiful leading pass. And even though he's already impressed us enough to get the shout out, he sends another one. Fantastic shot down to Tessier. Tessier looks for the quick pop and gets it to Maurice. A lot of that credit has to go to Frédéric Bredard. Well, there's going to be a travel called on his, I believe on Bredard's throw.
So Bredard actually seems to be more of a defensive cutter, not necessarily throwing the disc long as often, but we're seeing that quite a lot in this game already, especially when you've got a receiver like Tessier going deep. Very tempting to throw that option. We're just seeing the initial turnover from Puyal. Izno not wasting any time in getting that disc moving.
So there we see Bredard, a man whose sporting hero is the late, great Kobe Bryant. Somebody I believe we can all appreciate, send a bit of love to. It's just that dedication, that commitment to effort, to hard work. Mamba mentality, and he's showing it here. Quick to respond. Does he go for the same throw again? He does. Reckons he can make the shot twice, but that one was dipping for Tessier.
Same throw, same receiver, a little too much mustard on that one.
I think once you got too much time to think about it, I almost never go for the same throw twice.
I doubt that somehow. I can almost guarantee that if you were in that exact same situation, you're just like, it worked the first time, it's got to work again.
I'm not thinking of a second thing. As Vardan calls a quick timeout, and this is an opportunity for us to get a quick timeout with a message from our sponsors, but keep it here for the live, free, ultimate of the WFDF channel.
Catch it early. Help us teach kids about cancer symptoms through Ultimate Frisbee clinics. Join us and speak up.
And we are back. So Vardan making a very understandable decision to call a timeout. We are at the 60-minute mark, so we've got another 40 minutes. Plenty of time to play. And we've seen these Indian fellas, they know how to play. Representing Chennai, but also having a lot of other players come from some of the other communities, because as you can understand, couldn't quite get a full Masters team together just out of their fledgling club. A couple of people visiting from further afield as well. As now we'll see how they react. Céad here sends that one floating down to the sideline. Abhilash has been great as a utility player. Bobbled Macarena. I think you got to give him that catch. That looked like he had that control when it got knocked out. Manikam. That's what I think anyway. What do you think, Gigi?
I was unfortunately looking at the roster, so I did not catch it, but we have a lovely replay here. Look at that.
See, I think he secures it, and then, okay, let's watch this. Okay, no, secure, knocked out. I think the Iznogood knocked that out. Oh, it seems
I
like
don't
they
think
agree.
it's being contested at all.
Says Lorino. Lorino on the defense. That's a man who's been playing for 20 years. That's the equivalent to about 5 Chennai players. You can see it in his aggression on that force. Wiley. Get that back down to Abhilash. Abhilash. That pressure is mounting on him in the corner. They get it back into Manikam, but it's all just down the line. They need to get it off there. There's one touch. There's the second. Tessier cleans it up. And now Izno are starting to push back themselves. Nice little back and forth. Gelo. Lorino pops it down the line. That's well taken in. Decides against it for the first one. Takes the easier second shot. A nice executive throw by Bredal, using his experience and getting the easy score into Leonard.
Leona being completely free at the front of the end zone, barely having to take a step to receive the disc. We're seeing a lot of the same players from the Iznogood side. They don't have the biggest roster. They seem to have about 20 players, which for a world's standard team isn't too many. A lot of teams will take up to 25 players in order to give themselves enough legs. But it's very impressive that we're calling very much the same names every single time. That just shows how much strength and experience that those individuals have.
And with all due respect, especially if you're looking at a week-long tournament for a Masters team, you want a big, hefty roster because you just don't have the same level of recovery. But Izno know what they're doing. That was just all about technique and understanding. Fakes the open side, knows they will have somebody, this time in the form of Ghislaine Lanal, but somebody will be coming for that quick pop and the easy score. So Izno go to 10-3 up. And here comes the big pull out of Tessier. That's Gwen Tessier, 61. Not to be confused with Florian Tessier, who is 75. Both playing on the D line. It's Pundari. Pundari looking. Somehow gets that one off to Kim. I'm not sure how that backhand snuck out of there. Kim, we know he doesn't mind sending a couple of spicy flicks. Gets it back. Nothing quite coming available straight away. Here comes the big bid and block. Incredibly impressive by Bruno Calmel.
I could see that from the sideline here. Calmel had his eyes on the disc. He was like, right, that's mine. I'm going for it. Perfect body positioning, making sure that he did not make any single points of contact with his mark. Very good defensive play.
And Nguyen once again back out here. I think they're starting to bring some of these O-line players onto the D-line. As there comes a lovely shot down the line by Calmel, just about kept in by Müller. Müller now looking, swings it back, that's Nguyen. And just immediately swing back to Müller. And that's that quick movement that makes this Izno offense so potent. And there, again, they're just going to pop for the score. Macron to Monet at number 31. We'll get his name right this time.
We managed to get a little correction of some of the names here. Puyal really grinding hard on defense. They are having to absolutely sprint for every single mark, and it's not easy because, as you mentioned, Iznogood have been using the entire width of the pitch And whenever you are on defense and you have the disc moving from one side to the other, and suddenly it's on what you would consider the break side, and you are standing on the wrong side, where the disc now has completely wide open space for an open receiver, it's so difficult to be able to defend.
And that's exactly what we see Nguyen and Muller doing here in the highlights. They've done that all game long. They'll look to do it all week long. And then, as I mentioned earlier in the tournament, really getting themselves on the stat sheet because Macron, Monet in the position to finish it off. But they start that entire offensive move with that, using the width, like you're saying. And I do think that's kind of what Puyal are lacking. They're a little bit more afraid to push and really break to the width, either with more active cutting from their handlers, like you were seeing with Muller, or simply by taking on some of the more adventurous, sweeping throws like we've seen from Bredar.
But that's definitely something that I feel like they could take away from this game, is that obviously, yes, they are really proudly representing their country and their region, but this is also a huge learning opportunity. Again, a lot of these players have been playing for 3, 4, maybe 5 years. Some of the more experienced players have been playing for 10 years, and that's still plenty of opportunity to learn from people who've been playing 20 plus years.
As Amberish gets that down the line. And that's Cow. Let's see if he can move it. He does, just about, towing the line. Really well taken in as Izno try to crank up the pressure and clamp it down. They get it back into the middle. The waiting hands of Amberish. Amberish takes it again on the near sideline, but again they're staying within one half of the pitch. So now you get it across to Cow. Cow has to try and take on that pass to Sudhir. Now Sudhir clears that space. You need to get back around. Instead, he just tries to launch it deep. This might work as well. Good pressure, but we're going to see a call, understandably. So, I think that's although they're going to retract it. I think that's very understandable. That happens in a game. You call it, and then you're like, wait, let me think about it for a second. Actually retract. Very fair-minded. And the sun comes out to reward him. So now Izno. So we're just going to have another quick look. And that's the opportunity. Cow, of course, the nickname of Abhinav. Big shot, and I love that shot. Really thought Sudhir was coming down. He's been so effective for them. But I guess that's also what everybody watching back home thought as well.
It was extremely well-weighted disc. Definitely the right option, and I think if Sudhir managed to get just a good grasp on it, it would have absolutely converted, but unfortunately not the case here. Iznogood hot on their heels.
And Menendez looks to send this one. He's got Bredar underneath. Gets huge and goes for the unintentional Mac. There's going to be a call for a violation. That might be a misunderstanding of the rules. Maurice takes it in. No, he's calling a score. That makes much more sense. Wow, Maurice has got some hops.
Yeah, seeing the very tall statue of Bredar on our score sheet as 1.93 meters, but to then be brought down by the, from what we can see, much smaller number 14 top of Maurice. It's extremely impressive. That's very good disc reading. Just get another look at that. Not having to make much hops, to be fair. The disc sailing back into his hands very well. And
I
the
think it's
Puyal
how
players,
he flies, maybe. He just looks so graceful.
Puyal players being very fair in saying, hey, that was actually in. You don't have to do any more there. We love you doing it, but you're in.
Really fair-minded, highly spirited team, both in terms of the competitive edge and as well in terms of the spirited edge as well. Really great to see.
I always find the mindset impressive of teams who are down quite significantly. So Puyal are down 12-3, and they're still able to be very respectful towards their opponents rather than feeling salty or bitter towards it.
Which we do see from time to time, but fortunately with this maturity, like that kind of a throw, absolutely uncorks one, Kim. So many people chasing it. Battling underneath. Fortunately, no one could get there. We're going to have a little call saying a bit too much contact on that cut. Didn't care for the physicality. And those are the kind of throws that, once you've spent a bit of time deal this wind you recognize are available. You can hang them up onto the high side, let them drift across. Honestly, I wasn't too sure that those two were going to be the ones involved in it, but Dan was chasing it down, and I really thought he could. Or sorry, not Dan, that was Nitin chasing it down. Number 79, who's coming from the opposite side. I thought he might have been able to get there because he seemed to get the better read, but just dropped out of the sky before he could. So here come Izno, Mbe. Sends that down, smoothly done. Oh, that faked me out. I thought Gillot was going to send that. Mbe working hard, goes back to Gillot. Instead back into the middle, Leonard. Leonard sends it across to Bredard. Bredard all the way across again to Amado. Back into the middle to Gillot and Amado. That's a beautiful little triangle play. And there goes Amado. He floats it, but actually zips it a bit more than probably meant to, and Lorino can only watch it drift past him.
Lorino earlier on in the points doing very well to box out the Puyal player in their end zone. Now looking to be the receiver to get a technical bookends. Would you class it as a bookends if you box somebody out and then you score again?
Absolutely. I consider that kind of the same family as the ghost D. Okay, you didn't get your hand on the disc, but you're the entire reason that there wasn't a score. That counts. Oh, I wanted him to send that so badly. Balaji holsters it. Probably the better tactical decision, but from an entertainment point of view, I was really hoping he would just send it.
Not enjoying the amount of contact there. There's also a stall out hand signal. That's the hand patting on the top of the head. Stall count being 10 seconds for outdoors.
And of course, if you see someone patting the top of their head and then rubbing their belly in the opposite direction, that's the sign for an ambidextrous stall out.
A very hungry stall out.
Hungry for stall outs. This defense has put lots and lots of pressure onto Puyal India and really made them maybe say no to a couple of looks they could have taken the first time and then clamping down deeper. I really think Izno's experience has shone through in their defense more than their offense, as they come up with these different looks and these responses to how Puyal like to play, forcing them to go, okay, so your first form of attack isn't really working. What's your second? What's your third? And as they start to find solutions, Izno again change the questions, keep them locked in.
I've realized as well throughout this game how I've been saying I really want Puyal to be wide and expansive and have much larger cuts in their play. But that is also very European of me to say. That is a very European style of play. But then you look at some of the other nations across the world where Frisbee is extremely popular and they are very dominant. So countries like Japan, they too like their short ball. They do a lot of handler, squirrely, dancey movements, and they're extremely effective at it. It's completely different to the European style, and I don't think that they should stray away from that. So when I'm saying Puyal should maybe be a little bit more expansive, still play to their strengths, still do the dishy handler movements, but try to utilize the entire space of the pitch. Maybe also throw in some more expansive shots, but keep to your strengths as well.
I agree totally. I think a way they could be more expansive while staying within there. Oh, there's the huge shot all the way down the field. It's not going to anyone. That's a definition of a high stall count, bail. But I think a way they could be more expansive is if their handlers are just a bit more aggressive, as I would, based on my own experience, assume they are when they're playing somewhere they're more comfortable. Sometimes people do step back a little bit, try to be a bit more conservative on the bigger stage, when in reality you need to go hard for yourself and just be more you. So the handlers could do a little bit more aggressive after they throw and try and go a little bit more laterally as well as down the pitch, rather than just keep trying to force it through the middle. Because the movement's there and the technique has worked. It's just how many different ways can you employ that technique to keep the defense moving and guessing. As now we see Céad with the disc, Lorino, Amado, and oh, that one just dropping out of the sky, bouncing off the extended cuticles of Izno. So Karthik picks it up quickly. I like that. Vivek, they're looking to go back at them quickly. Back to Karthik. 2-5. Kim is just busting his gut trying to get free. Bredard putting him under all kinds of pressure. They definitely recognized Kim as being a crucial member. Vardan swinging that one around. Paul faking me out with that. So here comes Vardan. Vardan, oh, great holster. That was about to get hand blocked. Kartik collects it. Says no to that first one. Goes for the sweeping around. That was beautiful play by Kartik and Balaji.
Wonderful offensive movement from Puyal there. They looked so confident moving the disc there. It was a completely different team to what we've seen already. They were taking on their break shots really well. You could see them moving their marks out of the way to give them the free space, and a fantastic cut. I absolutely love that look.
I love that look because it shows the experience and the understanding between those two players. Kartik and Bala knew they weren't going to throw that first shot. You know who didn't? Those two Izno defenders. And they bit on it hard. Left, biting air. Kartik sends the full meal straight into the waiting hands of Balaji. 12-4, and like you say, always looking for the positives, even in these kinds of situations. What can you learn? What experience can you gain? What can you bring back to Chennai? And it looks like they'll be, apart from a lot of hopefully positive memories from their time here in Limerick. As well as that, maybe some of the top quality gear we have here. Friction gloves, grip for your game, be prepared for the rain, humidity, cold wind, and more. As well as Greatest, the #1 bag designed by and for Ultimate players. And of course, if you are an Ultimate player, you will be familiar with the high watermark of Ultimate equipment. That is Disc Craft, the world leader in disc sports, and of course VC, outfitting the world's best Ultimate players since 1998, which was not 2 years ago, it was a quarter of a century ago, when some of these players had already been considered veterans in their local clubs. As we see number 24 himself, Nguyen, who's just been so crucial to Izno. I'm sure we'll see plenty more of him. Tessier. Again, 61 is Gwenel Tessier. Not to be confused with 75, Florian Tessier, who's also been huge for them this game. Gets it back to Nguyen. Nguyen all the way across in the waiting arms of Marcon. Marcon spreads it, and Izno, I suppose, like you're saying, it's European style, and Izno are just such masters of it. Now they're just playing a little bit of skippy passing. That was a bit more like Puyal's style, stealing a page out of their books, perhaps. And the quick, comfy scuba over the top from Calmels into Muller.
Brave offense moving down that sideline. It's extremely tempting to continue moving down one plane when you've got that free lane and you're able to dish between your players, but you almost saw one of the Iznogood players just stepping out of the pitch. I've definitely done that before in a zone. I thought I had so much space. I was given the disc, I looked down, it was straddling the sideline. It was a very upsetting time, but Iznogood being completely assured of themselves and working it in nice and comfortably for another score, bringing it to 13-4. We are 2 points away from the hard cap.
13-4 as we take another look at Izno, and this is just where they started setting it up. That's Tessier working with Rescan. Rescan, oh, very nearly out of bounds, Calmel. A beautiful pop over the top. Something I love about Izno is when you see two players dominate a possession, they so rarely are the two players who are involved in the point. And I think that speaks to how well drilled they are. I'm going to give a shout out to Steph Rapazzo, who is the head coach of Iznogood right now, and also another compatriot who's joined us in the booth many a time. He will be currently preparing his team for WMUCC at the end of the month in Cincinnati. But right now we are here in Limerick, and we are watching the wonderful Puyal India take on Iznogood of Noisy Lesak. And that's Deepak. Kartik, who has got those flicks on demand. Beautiful catch by Ambarish. Ambarish launches one, it's high, it's floating. Bodies underneath. And fantastic defensive play. There's going to be a call on that one. Guillaume Blah looked to go over the top to deny, but I think the call is he just got a little bit too much arm.
Get a quick look at that one again. Very difficult to tell from that angle how much contact was actually established, but very good read from both players. They were both able to get to the disc exactly where it needed to be. Again, the right option in terms of shot. Very good disc, but it's so difficult to be able to predict how the disc is going to sit in this wind. It can easily pick up and wait in the gust of wind for a little bit longer than you'd like it to. So you hear the 3 whistles from the volunteers. They are timing the calls here. And after a certain amount of time, a game advisor is able to come in, give the players a rundown of the rules so that they can actually give themselves a better perspective as to what the call might actually result in.
It looks like it's going to be an uncontested foul, so Nitin will be taking the disc from the front of the end zone. Now, what happens here? Do Puyal swarm? Or are they? Oh, Kartik has just taken off, and there he collects it for the score. Kartik takes it on himself, and the yoga pose. Flash.
I love that celebration. It's one of the most chill ones. If you're wanting to spike the disc, go for it, but love a good yoga pose.
Oh, Kartik is too cool for that. He's showing off. Really great awareness from him as well. Like, he noticed the gap he had between him and his defender. He recognized, he started running before that disc was back in, but he was the first man to start running. Hit that top speed, and even with the ever sneaky one, David Amado, in the vicinity, he stays strong and collects the disc. So I think Kartik really coming alive in the second half of this game. That's an assist. He got that lovely little back step with Bala earlier on. And now a nice throw through and collecting the pass from Nitin. So Puyal showing that fire, showing that faith. You'll love to see it. We've got 19 minutes left, which is plenty of time for them to score a few more points. These are still in the pool stages. And how you do will dictate your position for further into the tournament. I think a big thing for Puyal here is just getting used to the elements, getting used to this situation and how they can play their game and what this kind of context will do to it.
They were saying that a lot of their players have never actually played wearing gloves before. It's not something that they tend to do, obviously, because in Chennai it can be extremely hot when they're playing on the beach. They don't need to. If you're wearing gloves, it's just going to get very sweaty, but they were saying how cold their fingers were feeling. I think from our perspective, we're very used to this kind of weather conditions. This is actually quite toasty for us, but again, if you're used to 30+ degree heat, it must be freezing cold.
I know I couldn't play down there the way I play up here anyway. Tessier, and that's going back to the middle. Nguyen again, teaming up. This is just moving so fast between all of them. Rescan gets back into the middle and now finds Nguyen one more time. And just across, somehow he pulled that in. I have no idea. The French team moving quickly, freely. Nguyen once again with the disc. He's working with Müller. They have been quite the quite the pair. Getting it all the way across the Marcon. Back in again to Müller. Müller looks back, finds Nguyen. Nguyen wants to swing it, gets it back out. That one's a little easier to catch. And Monet searching, just goes for Nguyen. They're not looking to force anything. They're not looking to rush anything. You can even see Nguyen with the calm down while holding the disc. Something I'm a huge fan of that move. I think it works more effectively. Calmel looks for the quick pop, gets it to Monet, and he throws it in for the comfortable score. And Tessier picks it up.
An important point that you raised there about them wanting to stay calm, and Kamel also trying to let their team know that they should be staying calm. It is very easy that whenever you're moving the disc quite a lot to forget how long you've actually got. You've got 10 seconds on the disc. Well, technically just over 9 seconds. It's on the T of 10 you have to let the disc go already, but that can be quite a lot. There's a lot you can do in about 9 seconds.
I personally subscribe to the fact that everybody fast counts, and realistically it's about 7 seconds. I do think everybody's fast counts. I'd also like to just very briefly bring attention, because we're coming into the last few games. Kalmel is having an absolutely stellar game for himself. He's had 2 assists so far, a goal and a block. And then on the other side of that, we have Nguyen, who I think has probably, for me, been Izno's most important player, certainly on the offensive end. He only has the 1 goal, but has been so crucial to everything they do. And it shows how well drilled how experienced, how in tune with each other this French side is. So let's see how Puyal respond. Will they let this be the last point of the day for them? Perhaps that one just ever so slightly errantly goes inside. There's going to be a call back for a foul on the mark.
You might be able to catch on the sidelines some other teams warming up. We've got a Grandmaster mixed game coming up. It's going to be Cursive versus Hijinks. So Hijinks from the USA, Cursive from Canada.
That promises to be quite an exciting matchup. We'll have Rachel and Troy on the mics for it. As that one goes back on the turnover. Perhaps a stall out. And Lorino bringing his full 2 decades of experience to bear on this with a quick, cheeky lefty backhand. Lenal shoots it to the end zone where it is collected for the score by Kevin. Ooh.
Not wasting any time whatsoever. Simple strike up the line, cut to the front of the end zone. Really simple offense. Maybe not really wanting to waste too much energy in overcomplicating things, but Iznogood wrapping up this game. Really showing how well drilled they are. Beautiful lefty backhand break for an open receiver, ending off this game.
Yeah, that little dish from Lorino, just magnifique. In the end, he finds it was the running form of Ghislaine Lenald, who was able to add an assist to the goal he got earlier, and ends up with Gouville, who made an amazing defensive play earlier in the game, and now ends the game with the score. So 15-5 in the end. A fairly dominant performance by Iznogood. It'll be exciting to see them as they continue through the tournament. Obviously, we want to see as many people as possible. Thank you so much for joining us for this broadcast. I've been Lorcan Murray.
I've been Gigi Morrison.
We've got plenty more action to come. One more game today and a whole week afterwards. This broadcast is copyright 2022 of the World Flying Disc Federation. It is for free on our YouTube channel, and we will see you in about 20 minutes for the last game of the day. Where else would you want to be?
Alti.tv.
Okay, les gars, sur l'esprit.